Om Sri Aurobindo Mira. The Psychic continued, part 2. As the evolution proceeds, nature begins slowly and tentatively to manifest our occult parts. She leads us to look more and more within ourselves or sets out to initiate more clearly, recognizably, intimation and formation of them on the surface. The soul in us, the psychic principle, has already begun to take secret form. It puts forward and develops a soul personality, a distinct psychic being to represent it. This psychic being remains still behind the veil in our subliminal part, like the true mental, the true vital, or the true or subtle psychical, physical being within us. But like them, it acts on the surface life by the influences and intimations it throws up upon the surface. These form part of the surface aggregate, which is the conglomerate effect of the inner influences and upsurgings the visible formation and superstructure which we ordinarily experience and think of as ourselves. Or this ignorant surface, we become dimly aware of something that can be called a soul as distinct from mind, life, or body. We feel it not only as our mental idea or vague instinct of ourselves, but as a sensible influence in our life and character and action, a certain sensitive feeling for all that is true and good and beautiful, fine and pure and noble, a response to it, a demand for it, a pressure on mind and life to accept and formulate it in our thought, feelings, conduct, character is the most usually recognized, the most general and characteristic. Though not the sole sign of the influence of the psychic of the man who has not this element in him or does not respond at all to this urge. We say that he has no soul, for it is this influence that we can most easily recognize as a finer or even a diviner part in us and the most powerful for the slow turning towards some aim at perfection in our nature. But this psychic influence or action does not come up to the surface quite pure, or does not remain distinct in its purity. If it did, we would be able to distinguish clearly the soul element in us and follow consciously and fully its detects an occult mental and vital and subtle physical action intervenes mixed with it, tries to use it and turn it to its own profit, dwarfs its divinity, distorts or diminishes its self expression, even causes it to deviate and stumble or stains it with the impurity, smallness, and error of mind and life and body. After it reaches the surface, thus alloyed and diminished, it is taken hold of by the surface nature in an obscure reception and ignorant formation, and there is or can be by this cause a still further deviation and mixture. A twist is given, a wrong direction is imparted, a wrong application, a wrong formation, an erroneous result of what is in itself pure stuff and action of our spiritual being. A formation of consciousness is accordingly made, which is a mixture of the psychic influence and its intimations, jumbled with mental ideas and opinions, vital desires and urges, habitual physical tendencies. They are coalesced to with the obscure soul influence, the ignorant though well intentioned efforts of these external parts towards a higher direction, a mental idealism of a very mixed character, often obscure even in its idealism, sometimes even disastrously mistaken a fervor and passion of the emotional being throwing up its spray and home of feeling sentiments, sentimentalisms, a dynamic enthusiasm of the life parts, eager res- responses of the physical, the thrill and excitements of nerve and body. All these influences coalesce in a composite formation which is frequently taken as the soul, and it mixed and confused action for the soul style. For a psychic development and action or a realized inner influence, the psychic entirely itself free from stain or mixture, but what comes up from it is not protected by that immunity. Therefore, this confusion becomes possible. Moreover, the psychic being, the soul personality in us, does not emerge full grown and luminous. It evolves, passes through a slow development and formation. Its figure of being may be at first indistinct and may afterwards remain for a long time weak and undeveloped, not impure but imperfect, for it resets its formation, its dynamic self building on the power of soul that has been actually and more or less successfully against the resistance of the ignorance and inconscience put forth in the evolution upon the surface. Its appearance is the sign of a soul emergence in nature. And if that emergence is as yet small and defective. The psychic personality also will be stunted or feeble. It is true, by the obscurity of our consciousness, separated from its inner reality in imperfect communication with its own source, in the depths of the being. For the road is as yet ill built, easily obstructed, the wires often cut or crowded with communications of another kind, and proceeding from another origin, its power to impress what it receives upon the outer instruments is also imperfect. In its penury, it has for most things to rely on these instruments, and it forms its push to expression and action on their data and not solely on the unerring perceptions of the psychic entity. In these conditions, it cannot prevent the true psychic light from being diminished or distorted in the mind into a mere idea or opinion. This psychic feeling is the heart into a fallible emotion or mere sentiment. The psychic will to action in the life parts into a blind vital enthusiasm or a fervid excitement. It even accepts this mistranslation for want of something better and tries to fulfill itself through them. For it is it is the parts of the work of the soul to influence mind and heart and vital being and turn their ideas, feelings, enthusiasms, dynamisms in the direction of what is divine and luminous. But this has to be done at first imperfectly, slowly, and with a mixture. As the psychic personality grows stronger, it begins to increase its communion with the psychic entity behind it and improve its communications with the surface. It can transmit its intimations to the mind and heart and life with a greater purity and force, for it is more able to exercise a strong control and react against false mixtures. Now, more and more, it makes itself distinctly felt as a power in the nature. But even so, this evolution would be slow and long if left solely to the difficult automatic action of the evolutionary energy. It is only when man wakes to the knowledge of the soul and feels a need to bring it to the front and make it the master of his life and action, that a quicker conscious method of evolution intervenes and psychic transformation becomes possible. Thanking you all.